What do you think?
You call it modern art? I call it a blooming great waste of space.
It doesn't matter what your interests are, there is a high chance you have seen someone insult the CGI of a film or TV show recently. But why is that? Well, as somewhat of a 3D modeler myself, follow me on Twitter by the way, I wanted to tackle why I feel CGI gets such a bad rap. Before we can talk about why CGI is often disliked, we first need to figure out what CGI means. CGI stands for Computer Generated Imagery and is mostly used for 3D graphics for TV shows and computer games. An example of a show which is often looked down on for its CGI is Doctor Who. Doctor Who is a British sci-fi show, so CGI plays a big role, from the titles to the bad guys. So in a show which relies so much on CGI, why do so many people call it bad? Is it bad? In some cases, yes. The Lazarus Experiment and even Rose use CGI villains which look terrible. But the show also has some great CGI. The new 13th Doctor intro looks great, and the season 4 adipose are just adorable, yet they never get a mention. I think half of why Doctor Who is looked down on for its CGI is the fact that from the 60s to the 80s it never used it. We got some terrible looking villains, but the fact people put their hearts and souls into it and let people look past that. You often hear praises of shows of the past, and even some new ones today that will push the boat out and use practical effects as they're much harder than 3D ones. Hell, part of me thinks that when I compare practical and 3D effects. There's just something charming about seeing little errors when practical effects are used that give a show a low budget feel. Now as a 3D modder, let me tell you the other part of me which knows it makes no sense. I use a free tool called Blender which is used by professionals in the animation and video game industries. I mostly model trains and Thomas the Tank Engine stuff, if you haven't guessed already. And these models take roughly 8 hours each. With animation you need to make models so much more complex and sometimes work on whole scenes which can be very hard to keep track of everything. People spend no less time working on CGI than they do using practical effects, yet we don't seem to notice it. Why is that? I think it's because bad CGI sticks out while good CGI blends in. We remember the bad CGI as it's so jarring while the good CGI gets lost and we don't realise it's CGI. A good example of this is an anime called Beastars. This is an anime mostly in CGI. All the main characters and scenes use CGI models for shadow and depth in a way 2D animation would struggle with. It's so good looking that taking a screenshot from the show and showing it to a random person, you may not even notice this is CGI. This is CGI done right. But this takes us back to the main question of this video, which is why do we look down on CGI so much to begin with? It can't just be because some of it is bad, right? No, I think it's something deeper. And with all issues in the film industry, it starts with Disney. As we are all well aware, the big mouse watches over us like a godlike figure, his armed gunmen out on the streets, waiting to shoot down anyone who shares their Disney Plus subscription and... Oh wait, no, wait a minute, wrong script. But yes, Disney does control the film industry a lot. From extending patents so they can keep Mickey Mouse trademarked, to convincing customers it's okay to buy a movie if you already need a subscription to even get the choice of buying it. Disney has a big hold. So when the 2009 2D animated film The Princess and the Frog flopped at the box office due to a trailer which implied the first black Disney princess would be stuck as a frog, bad timing which was sandwiched between other more successful movies, and above else the misfortune of coming out around the same time as Avatar, a movie praised for its 3D effects. This gave Disney cold feet about traditional animation, and ever since both Disney and Pixar have gone ahead with only using 3D animation. Not only does this mean other companies have followed the trend to be more like Disney, but it's also led to a lot of people feeling like 3D animation killed off 2D animation. Where this could not be further from the truth. While big budget films in the West tend to stay clear of 2D, in Japan anime using 2D is as popular as ever, with one of the most watched animes in the West being My Hero Academia, which is entirely 2D. So overall, it seems like people don't like CGI due to a lack of understanding about how it's made, how it killed off 2D traditional animation styles for Disney and many other Western studios, and because bad CGI just jumps to them when they first think of it as it's the most noticeable and jarring. If you enjoyed this new type of video I'm trying out, please make sure to like and subscribe and let me know in the comments below or on Twitter.